Welcome to Essential Shorts, where we take a look into the world of student ministry, one topic at a time. Today's topic is calendaring. If you're in student ministry, then you're aware of something that most of the church did not give a great deal of thought to, and that's the extensive calendaring that affects your life. As a student minister, your life and your ministry to a great extent revolve around school and a ministry calendar. Ministry events or happenings are used to attract students, sustain momentum, generate anticipation and excitement on an entry level. A lot of times a well-done ministry event can also produce a huge spiritual impact and catapult students towards deepening discipleship in their life. But too often, though, student ministries suffer from two extreme calendar mistakes. One of those extremes is to have no calendaring strategy and or very little on the calendar, which prevents a youth ministry from getting any traction, any notoriety, and eventually hinders the ministry in achieving and maturing purposeful ministry event. The other extreme is to fill a student ministry calendar so full of events and happenings that it literally is some sort of ministry event all the time. It looks like trying to put 50 pounds of cement in a 20-pound bag. Now, those who have read Simple Student Ministry by Geiger and Borton may have adjusted their ministry towards the middle and become healthier in the process. But you know, there are many in student ministry who have mistakenly applied an extreme version of Simple Student Ministry or some other calendaring version, and they've slashed their ministry events off the calendar and cut back so far that the only students still attending are those who are ready for deepening discipleship or those who really have no choice in their participation. Now, a healthy youth ministry is one where it has a leader who endeavors to create a strategic, fun, and deepening discipleship element within the same youth ministry to make them compatible. I want to share with you a brief but helpful strategy for calendaring your life and ministry, and it's called 336. Now, the title simply reflects the number of months represented in each segment of this strategy. It looks like this: 3 months concrete, 3 months tentative, and 6 months skeletal. Now, before we jump into that, first let me share a couple of verses with you to convince you that Jesus is honored by your planning effort, and He smiles when you apply planning to His kingdom work. Now, we all know about the advanced planning of Nehemiah and his organizational skills, planning skills applied to rebuilding Jerusalem. And we could stop there. But actually in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33, it tells us that God is not a God of confusion. And so we don't plan and just let things happen in chaos. And in Luke chapter 14, verse 28 through 30, it asks us to consider the truth of planning and organization, saying, "For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation, it's not able to finish. All who see it begin to mock him and saying, 'This man began to build and he's not able to finish.'" So strategic calendaring with purpose is practical and biblical. The first part of the 336 strategy is 3 months concrete. Now, just like the name implies, there are 3 months of this calendar part, this segment, that should never be deleted or dropped from the calendar unless there's an emergency situation applies or something church-wide where your pastor asks you to remove something. In other words, they're set in concrete for these 3 months. Now, that's fluid. It's not a hard 3 months. It's a soft 3 months, but for planning purposes. So the larger the church, the more months that may be applied to each segment. But for the sake of explanation, let's just go with 336. So the first 3 months of this segment is concrete. In other words, you have the name of the event or the happening. You have the date it's set. The purpose of the event is established. A specific target audience has already been determined. The cost has been printed. The place is booked if that's necessary. In other words, you know what the programming is that's being planned, and whether it's a speaker or a praise band or whatever elements are going into the actual event. So also, if you use lead teams, and I hope you do use lead teams, then your lead team coordinator and your lead team members are already enlisted to do the work of the ministry for that particular ministry event. So the first 3 months are concrete. They are set and should not be changed. The second 3 months, or this next segment, is called tentative. Just as the name again suggests, there's a few ministry decisions or elements that are in process, so to speak. In other words, they're tentative. Now, during these 3 months of calendaring, You have maybe a pretty firm date, you have a defined purpose, you have an approximate cost, maybe even a location is being determined. You're trying to decide between two different places, or maybe it's not final. But you may only have a lead team coordinator enlisted and maybe not a full team yet of people who are working on this event. But it's in process. Your target audience may be middle school, but you are looking at maybe you're going to expand that. And so some things are set and some things are tentative. So maybe you have a speaker and you're trying to decide between two options, and you're going to settle that out in the next few weeks or a month. Or maybe you're looking at your budget to see if you will be able to book a guest speaker and a band, or what elements that you might be able to afford to actually pack into that ministry happening. So during this phase of calendaring, what's important to remember is that you've enlisted a lead team coordinator, but maybe not a full team, and that some things are set in concrete and some things are in process. In other words, they are tentative. So the final segment of this 3-3-6 strategy is the skeletal period, which is 6 months. And during these 6 months, you may only have a date and an idea. For example, you may know that you're going to camp, and that's locked into the calendar, but you don't yet know exactly where you're going or what the theme is or which camp you're going to choose from, or if you're going to produce your own. So during this period, you may have a cost range, or you've checked your budget for what you're going to try to charge. You may have a target audience completely set. But you're establishing the major elements, but the details in the planning process are in process, and they're just being formalized. So during this segment, you may not have a lead team coordinator yet, and if you don't have a lead team coordinator, then you won't have a full lead team assembled yet. But you're in the process, and you have some names, and you're in the process of recruiting those folks. So remember, the larger your church or your youth group, the more time that is needed to calendar plan. Because you may have coordinating a ministry calendar with several other ministry areas, multiple staff members within the same church, so you may need more time. So your 3-3-6 strategy may actually be converted to a 6-6-12 strategy, where you've got 6 months of concrete, 6 months of tentative, and 12 months of calendaring. It's all depending on church. So there's no set standard, but there are some principles that should be followed and that should guide your calendaring. First, make sure that you calendar with purpose. There shouldn't be anything on your ministry calendar that doesn't require a ministry to pull it off. And second, don't over or underdo it. If you plan a lean or slim calendar, it will be full by the end of the year from the things that need to be added on a need basis. If you plan a packed calendar, your leadership and you may be pleading for relief by the end of the year. So plan lean and execute well. And third, don't become a lone ranger. Involve people in the whole process and give your ministry away. Hey, thanks for watching this segment of Essential Shorts videos. If I can serve you in your ministry in any way, please don't hesitate to contact me. Or if you have a problem or question concerning a student ministry topic, then let me know. I'll be glad to help you out. Drop me a note and let me share your success story with others. And remember, what you do is of great importance in kingdom work.